Pushing people from the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you all. I hear all of you in that room too. I want to thank Juliana and Arto for hosting us tonight. Also bring greetings from my wife, Mary Pat. Could be with us today because she's got her older sister visiting from Colorado. So it's a rare occasion when she gets into back east from Colorado. So I gave Mary Pat a pass for this one and let her visit with her sister. But I thank you all for being here. Look, when I think about we're a week away from the next debate, just a week from tonight in Miami. When I think about where we were at the last debate and how much the world has changed, think about it, in just 6 weeks. We have a situation now in Israel that is just reprehensible. I mean, more of the information is coming out now about exactly what Hamas did in their attack in Israel. And it was not just the murder of 1,400 people, but it was the way they did it. And more of that information is coming out. And let me tell you what it sounds exactly like. It sounds exactly like what happened in Ukraine. When I went to Ukraine about 2 months ago, I saw photographs of the butchery that was done by the Russian soldiers, gouging out people's eyes while they were alive, cutting off their ears to send a message that no one will see what's happened and no one will hear what happened, and murdering the men, raping the women, starting with the youngest, so that the older women who were in the same home would have to watch. Similar things happening in Israel. I spoke to a rabbi who's a close friend of mine just today. He's in Israel, and got a chance to speak to the father of a 19-year-old young woman who's part of the IDF who was kidnapped. He doesn't know where she is, doesn't know whether she's dead or alive. He's in Israel to try to find her, and is wearing a shirt with her picture on it. 20,000 children were kidnapped in Ukraine and brought back to Russia. Hundreds and hundreds of people, including Americans, kidnapped in Israel. If we don't believe all these things are connected, we're naive. There is a foursome of evil in the world right now: China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. And they're all working together. China's funding the Russian war. Iran and North Korea are supplying weapons to the Russians. And if you don't think the Russians and the Chinese encouraged what happened with Hamas, you're kidding yourself. Because that helps to distract us from what's going on in Ukraine and making us divide our attention between Ukraine and Israel. So let me deal with both of those situations right up front. One, on Israel, we should be doing three things in my view. One is supporting Israel financially and militarily in every way we can so that they can protect the territorial integrity of their country and the safety and security of their citizens. Second, we should support Israel going into Gaza and getting rid of these terrorists and degrading their ability to do this again. Because if you didn't see it, there's a video that came out in the last day or so of one of the leaders of Hamas saying that they won't stop until they've killed every Jew. So for all those people out there who are calling for a ceasefire, it'll be a one-sided ceasefire, everybody. There'll be a ceasefire only by the Israelis, because Hamas has made clear that they will not stop until they kill every Jew. Third, we need to keep Israel focused on the fact that they were making real progress towards isolating Iran by making agreements with other Arab nations in the region to continue to isolate Iran and have their policy of wiping Israel off the map be the outlier in the Middle East. We can't do anything in Gaza that will prevent that process from continuing to happen. And so those are the three things I think we should be encouraging Israel to do and supporting Israel in doing. And I will have to say that I give the president credit since October 7th. I think the things he said has made sense, and I think him going to Israel was a really important symbolic move representing our country and our loyalty to Israel. And if you wonder how important those kind of things are, some people say it's just symbolism, but in this instance I think it's important. Think back to 9/11. 9 days after 9/11, President Bush gave a speech to a joint session of Congress, and sitting in the gallery was Tony Blair, then the Prime Minister of Great Britain. The leader of our strongest ally in the world didn't just send good wishes. He got on a plane and he came to the Capitol and he sat there in a black suit with a black tie to represent his mourning of the lost Americans. And I remember watching it that night and thinking to myself, what an amazing moment for him to do that. I think it was a similar moment for President Biden to go over there and do it. We're not Republicans or Democrats at moments like that. We want our president to be our president, and I think he did a good job in that. Now, there's lots I would have done differently before October 7th, and we can talk about that during questions. But after October 7th, I give him credit. On Ukraine, I am heartened to hear the new speaker say that he supports Ukraine and supports more aid for Ukraine. I think that's a very important thing, and I hope that while he's not connecting the two things, which I would do, I feel confident he'll bring a bill to the floor to support Ukraine, and that will get bipartisan support, I think overwhelming bipartisan support. For this reason, think about this. We've spent 5% of 1 year's budget of the Pentagon. 1 year's budget. And with that money, they've degraded 50% of the Russian military hardware. That's a pretty good return on investment for anybody. And we're doing that without sacrificing one American life to get it done. I heard Vivek on TV with Piers Morgan today, and he said that he would offer Putin a deal that he would let Putin keep all the land he seized through his violence. He'd promised Putin that we would never admit Ukraine to NATO. And in return, Putin would have to give us the fact that he would no longer be allies with China. I mean, seriously, it's this time to go. This time it's got to go back to Harvard and get some type of further advanced degree to learn something about foreign policy and history. The last time we walked away from a shooting war and turned our back on a shooting war in Europe, what happened was that we had to sacrifice 500,000 American lives to stop Hitler. If you think Putin will stop if we give him Ukraine, he'll be on to the Baltics and on to Poland. And by the way, those are all members of NATO. He attacks them, we have a treaty obligation to defend them. This is the lowest cost way in dollars and in American lives to stop Russia and to send a message to China, their sponsor. They're not trying the same thing in Taiwan. And so these incidents over the last few weeks are so important that I don't think you can start off any conversation about running for president without talking about those and letting people know exactly where you stand and what kind of president you would be. And I think Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis and Vivek, who believe you can appease Putin, are just as wrong as Neville Chamberlain was when he thought he could appease Hitler. Murderous dictators are never appeased. They always want more. And we have to stand up and fight against that.